On July 30th, 2026, a number quietly appeared on a government-monitored exchange report. Almost no financial news channel mentioned it, no breaking news alert, no red banner, just a number buried in a spreadsheet that maybe 2,000 people in the entire world actually read. And that number is the reason silver's next move could catch millions of investors completely off guard. Here's why this matters to you, even if you've never bought a single ounce of silver in your life. If you have a retirement account, a savings account, or you've ever bought anything with a battery in it, a phone, a car, a solar panel on your neighbor's roof, this story touches your wallet. Because silver isn't just jewelry anymore. It's the metal quietly running the modern world. And the exchange that's supposed to guarantee there's enough of it to go around just sent a signal that something underneath the surface has shifted. If you're interested in money, investing, gold, silver, and protecting your financial future, subscribe to Money Insights and like this video, because every week we break down the biggest financial stories in simple English. So let's start with the basics, because you need to understand this before the rest of the story makes sense. COMEX is short for the Commodity Exchange. It's part of the CME group based in New York, and it's the place where most of the world's silver trading actually happens. Think of it like a giant marketplace where banks, investors, and mining companies buy and sell contracts for silver that hasn't even physically moved yet. Most of the time, nobody actually takes the silver home, they just trade paper promises. But some of those contracts are different. Some of them say, I want the real thing. And when enough people ask for the real thing at the same time, that's when the cracks start to show. Now here's where the story actually begins. For years, analysts have obsessively watched something called registered inventory. This is the silver sitting inside COMEX-approved vaults that's actually available for delivery, right now, today, if someone wants it. Back in early 2026, that number had fallen to some of its lowest levels in years, hovering around 76 million ounces. That sounds like a lot. It isn't. Not when you consider how much paper silver is floating around promising to be backed by real metal that may or may not be sitting there when someone finally asks for it. But here's where everything changes. Over the following months, registered inventory didn't keep falling. It climbed. By late July 2026, registered silver in COMEX vaults had crossed 90 million ounces, and by July 30th, it stood at roughly 99.7 million ounces. On the surface, that looks like relief. More metal in the vault should mean less stress, right? Almost nobody noticed what was actually happening underneath that headline number, and that's exactly the part of this story most people are missing. To understand the warning, you first need to understand the difference between two categories of silver sitting in the exact same warehouse. One is called registered. The other is called eligible. Registered silver has a live warehouse warrant attached to it, meaning it's ready to be delivered the moment someone demands it. Eligible silver meets all the same exchange standards, sits in the same building, sometimes on the same shelf, but it's privately owned and carries no warrant. It's not going anywhere unless its owner, usually a bank or an exchange-traded fund, decides to release it. Here's the part that should make you sit up. In the first half of 2025 alone, roughly 95 million ounces of silver were moved out of the registered category and into the eligible category. That's silver that used to be available for delivery, quietly reclassified into a locked box. It didn't leave the building, it just stopped being available to the market. Now here's the part most people miss. When registered inventory climbs, the way it did through the summer of 2026, you have to ask a very simple, very uncomfortable question. Is genuinely new metal arriving into the system, or is metal simply being shuffled between categories to make the headline number look healthier than the underlying reality? This is the quiet warning almost nobody talks about. It isn't a crash. It isn't a headline-grabbing shortage. It's something far more subtle. A market where the visible signal and the actual physical reality can drift apart, and where the people watching only the surface number can be caught completely flat-footed when the gap finally closes. Let's slow down for a second, because if you've never traded a futures contract in your life, some of this might sound like a foreign language. Here's the simplest way to think about it. A futures contract is basically a promise, an agreement to buy or sell a fixed amount of silver at a set price on a future date. Most people who trade these contracts never actually want the metal. They're speculating on price, the same way someone might bet on a football game without ever touching the ball. But a small percentage of contract holders do want delivery. They want real bars, physically moved into their name. When the number of contracts demanding real delivery starts creeping up faster than the registered inventory can comfortably support, that's when an exchange starts to feel pressure it was never designed to handle. Think of it like an insurance company that sold far more policies than it has reserves to pay out, quietly hoping that not everyone files a claim at the same time. And here's an unexpected statistic that puts real numbers behind that idea. Each standard COMEX silver contract represents 5,000 troy ounces. Even a modest wave of investors deciding to stand for delivery rather than roll their contracts forward can translate into millions of ounces of demand hitting the vault system within a matter of weeks. Multiply that by the fact that registered inventory has spent most of the past 2 years hovering in a range that would have seemed dangerously thin by pre-2020 standards, and you start to understand why analysts who watch this data closely use words like fragile instead of healthy, even when the headline number ticks upward. Let's zoom out for a second, because this single data point doesn't exist in a vacuum. It sits on top of one of the most extraordinary streaks in modern commodity history. According to the Silver Institute's World Silver Survey, published alongside the research firm Metals Focus, the global silver market is on track for its 6th consecutive year of supply deficit in 2026. Not one bad year. Not two. 6 years in a row where the world has used more silver than it has mined and recycled combined. The projected shortfall for 2026 sits at roughly 46.3 million ounces. That number alone might not mean much to you, so here's the real story behind it. Since 2021, the cumulative deficit has reached somewhere around 762 million ounces. To put that in perspective, that's close to an entire year's worth of global mine production, quietly drained out of existing stockpiles just to keep up with demand. 6 years of living off savings, not income. Imagine a family that keeps spending more than it earns every single year, covering the gap by slowly emptying a savings account built up over decades. That's what the global silver market has been doing since 2021. History tells a very different story than most people assume. Silver shortages used to be temporary, a bad mining year here, a strike there, resolved within a season or two. What's happening now doesn't resolve on its own because most silver isn't mined on purpose. It comes out of the ground as a byproduct of mining gold, copper, and zinc. Even when silver prices spike, mining companies can't simply flip a switch and produce more of it because their operations are built around a completely different primary metal. That's a structural problem, not a seasonal one, and structural problems don't fix themselves in a single earnings cycle. So who's actually buying all this silver? This is where the story gets genuinely surprising. For years, the assumption was that industrial demand, solar panels, electronics, electric vehicles, was the main driver pulling silver out of the ground. And industrial use is enormous. It remains one of the largest single categories of global demand. But recent data shows something unexpected happening in 2026. High prices have started forcing manufacturers to actually cut back. Jewelry fabrication, for example, is projected to fall sharply this year to some of its lowest levels in 5 years, and even solar and electronics producers are trimming silver content wherever engineering allows it. Here's the twist. Even as industrial and jewelry demand pulls back, the deficit isn't closing. Why? Because ordinary investors, regular people just like you, buying coins and bars, have stepped in and absorbed the slack. Coin and bar demand jumped sharply over the past 2 years, and exchange-traded silver products have pulled in tens of millions of ounces of net inflows. In other words, the shortage used to be an industrial story. Now it's increasingly a story about millions of individual people quietly deciding they don't trust paper promises anymore, and choosing to hold the physical metal in their own hands. Think about what that means for a retiree watching their savings account barely keep pace with rising grocery bills. Think about a young professional who's watched housing prices become unreachable and is looking for something that can't be printed into existence by a central bank. Silver, in this environment, isn't just an industrial input anymore. It's becoming a quiet vote of no confidence in paper money itself. Cast one coin, one bar, one ETF share at a time. There's a historical parallel worth pausing on here because markets rarely invent new behavior. They usually just repeat old patterns with new characters. Back in the late 1970s and into 1980, a sudden surge of investment demand collided with limited available supply and helped drive silver to a nominal high that, adjusted for today's dollars, would be worth roughly $200 an ounce. That episode is remembered today mostly for the dramatic attempt by a wealthy family to corner the market. But the deeper lesson is simpler than that headline suggests. When physical supply is already tight and a wave of buyers decides they want the real thing at the same time, price can move far faster and far further than most models predict. Nobody is suggesting a repeat of exactly that scenario, but the underlying mechanism, thin physical supply meeting a surge of buyers who all want delivery, not just paper exposure, is not ancient history. It's a pattern that shows up again and again whenever a market's visible inventory gets stretched thin enough. Now here's a mini cliffhanger worth sitting with for a moment. If registered inventory truly reflected fresh, newly available metal, you'd expect other stress indicators to be easing right alongside it. Instead, delivery notices, the actual number of contracts standing for physical delivery each month, have remained elevated well into the 2026 delivery calendar. Even as the exchange's own reporting acknowledges, the picture is, in their words, coming in quite weak. relative to prior years on a relative basis. Elevated delivery demand against inventory that's only just recovering from multi-year lows is not the combination you'd expect to see if the underlying tightness had genuinely resolved. Now, let's bring the Federal Reserve into this picture, because monetary policy and precious metals are tied together whether people realize it or not. In late July 2026, the Fed's Policy Committee Underchair Kevin Warsh held Intrastra. 3 members of the committee actually dissented, pushing for a hike instead, which analysts described as a hawkish hold, meaning the Fed didn't raise rates, but its tone made clear it hasn't given up the fight against inflation. New York Fed. President John Williams reinforced that message shortly after, saying he expects inflation to ease later in 2026, but that the central bank stands ready to raise rates again if price pressures don't cooperate. Here's why that detail matters more than most viewers realize. The Fed's preferred inflation measure was still running at 3.7% year over year in June 2026, nearly double the official 2% target, and price growth has now stayed above that target for more than 5 straight years. Every time inflation data comes in hotter than expected, traders start pricing in a higher chance the Fed will need to raise rates again, which tends to push real yields higher and can pressure gold and silver prices lower in the short term. Every time inflation data cools, the opposite happens, and precious metals often catch a bid. That tug of war has been playing out almost weekly throughout 2026, and it explains why silver's price chart looks like a roller coaster, even while the underlying supply story keeps tightening in the background. And that price chart really has been a roller coaster. Silver soared to an all-time high of roughly $121.67 per ounce in late January 2026, a genuinely historic move driven by investor enthusiasm colliding with that structural deficit story. But here's the reality check almost nobody wants to talk about. By early August 2026, silver had pulled back significantly from that peak, trading in the high 50s to low 60s per ounce, even touching the low 50 range at points along the way down. That's a retracement of well over a third from the all-time high. So which story is true? The bullish deficit narrative or the bearish price collapse from the highs? Here's the uncomfortable answer. They're both true at the same time. And that contradiction is exactly what makes this moment so important to understand. Prices can fall sharply in the short term because of shifting Fed expectations, a stronger dollar, or geopolitical headlines easing tension in places like the Middle East, even while the long-term physical deficit keeps grinding on underneath the surface. Price and physical reality don't always move together, especially not on a week-to-week basis. Traders react to headlines. Physical scarcity moves on a completely different, much slower clock. This is where the story circles back to that COMEX warning. Because a market can look calm on the surface, registered inventory rising, prices well off their highs, headlines full of Fed speculation, while the underlying structure keeps tightening year after year. In the second half of 2025, London's LBMA vaults reportedly saw unencumbered, freely available silver stocks fall to some of their lowest levels on record, with reports suggesting only around 17% of London silver holdings were actually free and clear of other obligations. That's not a COMEX-only phenomenon. It's happening in the other major hub of the global physical silver market, too. Here's an unexpected statistic that puts this all in perspective. Since 2020, total COMEX silver warehouse stocks, combining both registered and eligible categories, have fallen by roughly 75%, from around 346 million ounces down to levels closer to 80 to 90 million ounces at various points before this summer's partial recovery. A 75% decline in 5 years is not a minor fluctuation. It's one of the sharpest inventory drawdowns in the exchange's modern history, and it happened largely outside the spotlight of mainstream financial media, which tends to focus on daily price swings rather than the slow motion story unfolding underneath them. So why does any of this matter to an ordinary family who has never bought a silver coin in their life? Because silver sits at an unusual intersection. It behaves partly like gold, a hedge against inflation, a store of value when trust and currency wavers, and partly like an industrial commodity tied directly to the energy transition. From solar panels to electric vehicle components to the electronics inside, nearly everything you own. That dual identity means silver doesn't just react to what the Fed does, it reacts to how factories are running, how much sunlight-powered infrastructure is being built worldwide, and how many ordinary people decide, quietly and individually, that they'd rather hold something physical than trust a number on a screen. Here's a hidden connection that ties this whole story together. Every time the Fed holds rates steady while inflation stays elevated, it effectively lowers the real cost of holding a non-yielding asset like silver, because savers aren't getting compensated enough by cash and bonds to offset inflation eating away at their purchasing power. Every time industrial demand for silver in solar and EVs grows, it locks in usage that, once installed, is essentially permanent. that silver is never coming back out to be recycled for decades, if ever. And every time COMEX shuffles metal between registered and eligible categories, it reminds the market that headline inventory numbers can be managed, even while the physical constraint underneath keeps building. Put those three forces together, and you get a market that can feel deceptively calm on the surface, punctuated by sudden, sharp moves that seem to come out of nowhere to anyone who was only watching the price chart and not the plumbing underneath it. That's the pattern behind nearly every major squeeze in commodity history. Not a sudden shock, but a slow tightening that finally reaches its limit. Let's talk about what this means for four very different kinds of people, because the story lands differently depending on where you're standing. For a retiree living on a fixed income, a structural silver deficit combined with persistent inflation is a reminder that cash sitting in a low-yield account can quietly lose purchasing power every single year, even while the number on the statement stays the same. For a parent trying to save for a child's future, it's a lesson in the difference between paper wealth and tangible assets, a lesson that becomes especially relevant when headlines about record deficits sit right alongside headlines about sharp price pullbacks. For a young professional just starting to invest, it's an introduction to a market that doesn't move in a straight line, where being early to understand the fundamentals matters more than trying to perfectly time a bottom. And for a factory owner relying on silver for manufacturing, it's a direct cost pressure that can force painful decisions about redesigning products to use less of a metal that keeps getting more expensive and less predictable to source. Why should any of this matter to someone who has never even considered buying precious metals? Because the same forces squeezing the silver market, persistent inflation, a central bank walking a tightrope between growth and price stability, and a public increasingly skeptical of paper promises, are the same forces touching your grocery bill, your mortgage rate, and your retirement account balance. Silver isn't a story happening in isolation. It's one visible symptom of a much larger conversation about what money is actually worth in 2026. There's one more detail worth understanding before we wrap this up, because it tells you how professional traders are actually reading this moment. The gold to silver ratio, essentially how many ounces of silver it takes to buy 1 ounce of gold, dropped below 69 in early August 2026. As silver outperformed gold on a relative basis, even during a period of overall precious metals volatility. Historically, when that ratio compresses like this, it's often read as a signal that silver is catching up to gold's monetary premium, rather than trading purely as an industrial afterthought. Whether that trend continues depends heavily on what happens next with Fed policy, industrial demand, and yes, that quiet inventory data, almost nobody outside a small circle of analysts is actually tracking. So where does that leave us with the original mystery? That quiet COMEX warning almost nobody noticed? It isn't a prediction of a crash or a guarantee of a squeeze. Markets are complicated, and anyone who tells you they know exactly what happens next is selling you something. What the data actually shows is this: registered inventory recovering on paper, while thick reclassification flows and a historic multi-year drawdown sit just beneath that headline number. A sixth consecutive year of global deficit, even as prices retreat sharply from January's record highs. A Federal Reserve caught between stubborn inflation and growing pressure to eventually ease with every data release capable of swinging precious metal sentiment overnight. And millions of ordinary people quietly choosing physical metal over paper promises, one purchase at a time. None of this means panic. It means paying attention to the parts of the story that don't make headlines, the categories inside a warehouse report, the difference between a price chart and a physical constraint, the difference between what's visible and what's actually happening underneath. The families who understand this distinction aren't reacting to headlines after the fact. They're watching the same quiet signals the professionals watch, long before those signals ever make it onto a news ticker. That's not fear. That's simply being informed in a market that rewards patience and understanding over panic and guesswork. If you learned something new today, make sure to subscribe to Money Insights and like this video. More powerful financial insights are coming next.